Welcome to the Embrace Strength podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Crocker. I am an experienced trainer and active life professional. I work with people who are struggling with nagging pain to get back to the activities they love without fear of re-injury. This podcast is here to educate and provide value to you on all things health, fitness, staying active, and personal development. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to the pod. And today I'm going to talk through 4 sneaky things that are quietly holding you back. And I wanted to do this episode because these are basically like the 4 things that I most commonly see out of people's assessments between their mobility and their strength tests. Like, these are common things that I see in clients who are dealing with nagging pain or having some type of issue. And I say these are sneaky because they're not super loud and you might not even know that you have this because you don't have the knowledge to like check this or whatever. Or you might just think it's normal. But anyways, first up, you have a knee that always feels tweaked after squats. Let me tell you, there is a reason that this is happening, and this is not random. And I'm going to say that it is typically from either a mobility or strength issue or stability issue at the hip, or we have something going on strength and balance wise, right leg versus left leg. Those are the most common things that I see with somebody with that who says that. The tweaky knee after squats. So if you have a tweaky knee after squats, there's a reason for that. You should pay attention to it, look more deeply into it, because also with these things that I'm going to mention is these things don't go away if you just ignore them. They stick around. The issue will also usually migrate to another area. So it's something to definitely take action on. Number 2, if you don't feel deadlifts in your butt and hamstrings, and you only feel them in the front of your legs and your hamstrings, somewhere in that vicinity of things, basically like you don't feel deadlifts where you should. And even if it like looks right or looks like the right form, if you're not using the right muscles to do the lift, you're not getting the full benefits of the lift. I see this so many times with back pain clients. We get into, their mobility and strength testing, and come to find out in the mobility screen, right, what I typically find with somebody that presents like this is their hip internal rotation sucks. And if you don't have good hip internal rotation, you're going to have a really hard time accessing your glutes in something like a deadlift. So if your glutes are not able to lengthen like they should due to lack of hip internal rotation, you're going to have a harder time feeling your butt and your glutes lengthen in the deadlift. That is a very common connection that I see. And when I ask the person, like, okay, so where are you feeling this deadlift? They'll say hamstrings and the front of my legs, like my quads. And that's instantly like ding, ding, ding going off in my head. Like, okay, we're going to have to retrain this movement pattern. Or you might not feel it in the front of your legs, but you might also say just like pure hamstrings and my low back or whatever. The point is, if you're not feeling those glutes in addition to your hamstrings in something like the deadlift, that is something to address, even if you're not having back pain. And okay, so that was number 2. Number 3, single leg movements feel really hard and you cannot control your tempo. This is another thing I see a lot with people who are dealing with nagging pain or some type of issue. we get into when I do my assessments, we only do unilateral. So we are only doing single leg, single arm stuff. And we get into these patterns and that feels really hard for the client. They can't control the tempo. They're rushing. And I asked them, like, do you ever do single leg work or unilateral movements? And typically the answer is not at all, or it's very infrequent. And like if somebody is dealing with pain and all you're doing is bilateral movements and you have some type of compensation, you're never doing single leg stuff, you're going to keep those compensations. And so I'm just such a huge fan, you guys know this, of unilateral movements and building a foundation of strength around unilateral movements. And that will serve you so much more than only doing bilateral, only doing two-legged movements. Because if you do unilateral movements, you're able to maintain, sometimes even increase your strength on bilateral stuff. But the reverse is not true. If you only do bilateral, it's not going to strengthen your single leg movements. So you really get a huge bang for your buck with unilateral movements and working with tempo. You need to be able to have that control. And then the fourth and final sneaky thing that could quietly be holding you back in your training is if you can squat as much as you deadlift. And you can't see me, but I'm like giving a sneaky smile here. Yeah, this is another thing that I commonly see in clients. Usually back pain clients. Listen, your deadlift should be the absolute heaviest lift that you can do, and your squat should roughly be around 80% of your deadlift. So if you were somebody who was out there squatting as much as you deadlift, and you hardly ever do deadlifts, you need to lay out the squatting and work on your deadlifts. It will be very advantageous to you to work on that hinge pattern strength. Do less of a squat pattern for a period of time to strengthen that up. Yeah, I don't have too much else to say on that, but if you are someone who is like, oh yeah, I can like squat as much as I deadlift, or if your squat is 5 or 10 pounds, like if your squat is close to your deadlift, you need to do more hinging than squatting and increase the strength on that deadlift. Your body will just feel a lot better if you do that. So if you have listened to this episode and if any of these things that I talked about today sound familiar, then my newest freebie, the DIY mini movement audit, could be a good first step into uncovering why your body is feeling the way that it is. No, it's not going to give you a full picture of what's going on with your body, but it is a start. This resource is is focused on lower body tests. So there's 3 lower body movement assessments as part of my 13-point mobility assessment, but these 3 assessments are in the freebie, and I basically walk you through how to do the test yourself, how to do the test, what it's looking at, what limited might mean, and what you might need to look at to fix it. I'm excited about this resource. I think it's super valuable for the person who is dealing with an issue. You're kind of sus about like the full assessment and you like want a little bit of a taste of what that would even involve or look like. This can give you like a quick win in being like, hey, all right, this might be involved, whatever, what it tends to look at. The link will be in the description to download it and go get your copy. But I appreciate you for listening. If you listen to this episode and you feel called out, I encourage you to share it with your lifting buddy, your gym friend, somebody who needs to hear it. And I will talk to you guys next time.